Well, hello, my name is Jim Royal. Thank you very much for watching my video. I am a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan and basically music in general. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And also at the end of watching the video, if you could put a thumbs up, that's always a nice thing to do. Today I wanted to talk about the Beatles' White Album. This is the 50th anniversary right now of that historic album. And this weekend, there have been some different configurations of a re-release for it. They've done a remix of it, and they've also included some demos, which are Esher demos is what they call them. It's either Esher or Esher, I'm not sure. I'm going to call it Esher though. These demos were recorded in May of 1968. There are 27 songs. And they were recorded at George Harrison's home. George Harrison lived in Esher, which is a suburb of London. So hence that's why they came up with the title for that. What is so interesting about this was, let's go back a couple months prior, the Beatles had made a trip to India and enrolled in an 8-week course with the Maharishi to study meditation. There were other people that had also joined in. Mike Love of the Beach Boys, he participated, he went there too. Mia Farrow, who you might remember her, she's an actress, she was in Rosemary's Baby. Paul Horn, a famous jazz musician. And also Donovan, to name a few. Donovan was a 60s British pop superstar, and in fact, a little bit of trivia here, his song "Mellow Yellow," which you might have heard, actually both John and Paul sing backing vocals on that song, which I think is pretty cool. One other thing to note too with Donovan, while they were there, when they were doing meditation, in between, they would be playing their acoustic guitars, they were getting together, they were writing a lot of songs, and just having a good time, enjoying just their stay away from their normal busy lives. Donovan was and still is an accomplished guitarist, and in fact he recalls teaching John, Paul, and George some guitar techniques that he had come up with. And in fact, he said John Lennon was a fast learner. There are 2 songs on here, Dear Prudence and Julia, that John took some of those techniques from. So, I have to thank him for, contributing that to the White Album. After the Beatles got back from India, they started the White Album, and they laid down these demos. Now George, like the other Beatles, had recording equipment at home. George had an Ampex 4-track tape recorder, and it allowed the idea of you can put multi-layer you can lay down a vocal, and then you can go back and lay down a guitar, and it won't erase the previous what was on there. So this helped them a lot with creative ideas. Now of the 27 songs, 15 of them were actually John Lennon songs. 7 of them were Paul McCartney songs, and 5 of them were George Harrison songs. What I like about this, what they've done here with this release, is they have the White Album, which was a double album, and then they have these demos. And if there was a demo for a song on the White Album, they kept it in that order. And I like that idea a lot. I think it really works. Now, just talking about these demos in general, they are real laid back. It sounds like they're having a great time. I would call it an unplugged version of the White Album. There is acoustic guitar on most of it, acoustic guitars rather, and there are also, there's organ playing, there's hand clapping, there's backing vocals. Sometimes when the Beatles are recording, it sounds like maybe one's recording themselves and other people are talking, but most of the time there's some participation from somebody else, whether it's a clap of a hand, something. little percussion that they have on there too, but there are no drums on here. And I'm telling you, it just sounds like they're having a great time. 2 songs I'll point out, Revolution and Back in the USSR. It just sounds like it's just, it sounds like everybody is participating and they're just having a good time. And you can hear that in these recordings. And that's also what I like with the spirit of these recordings. So what I'm going to do is talk about these. What ended up happening was these demos started appearing in the late 80s. There was a John Lennon radio program called The Lost Lennon Tapes that started in 1988 and went on for about 4 years. It delved into John Lennon's personal archives. Now, after these demos were recorded, George gave a copy to the other 3 Beatles, so they would each have one. So John had his also. And we got to hear these on bootleg starting in the late 80s. And I mean, it was just amazing. They were a little crude arrangements, maybe not as good, but it was good. Now, they did a great job cleaning up the sound quality, I'll have to say. But bootlegs like, let's see, 1968 demos, these are unauthorized, albums that came out. Let's see what else. Unsurpassed demos, Off-White. You might recall some of these, you might not. But some of these we never heard at all until Anthology. Anthology came out in the mid-90s and they were official Beatle releases. So we were surprised at just how great the sound quality was compared to what we heard before. So I'm going to read these to you, and of the 27 songs, 19 of them appeared on the White Album and the other 8 didn't. So I'm going to go in greater detail on the ones that didn't appear on that album. Alright, so let's start out. You got Back in the USSR, you have Dear Prudence, you have Glass Onion, you have Obla Dee, Obla Da, you have The Continuing Story of Bungalow Bill, you have While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Happiness is a Warm Gun, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Piggies, Rocky Raccoon, Julia, Your Blues, Mother Nature's Son, Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey, Sexy Sadie, Revolution, Honey Pie, this is the one from the 1930s, Cry Baby Cry. So that's what appeared on the White Album. So these are the 8 that didn't. Sour Milk Sea. Sour Milk Sea is a song that George Harrison sung. And it's a good rocker. I like it a lot. It was fun. It's too bad the Beatles never officially recorded it. At the time, the Beatles were forming Apple Records. They were starting a label. They were also getting ready to sign artists to it. And one artist they signed was Jackie LaMox. He was a fellow Liverpoolian that I believe they met in Hamburg. He was in another band at the time in the early 60s when they were performing there in clubs. So they actually gave this song to him, and it was his first single. And actually 3 of the Beatles perform on it. Everybody except John, and George produced the session. I like the song a lot. It's a lot of fun. Alright, next song is called Junk. This is a song that would later appear. It's from Paul McCartney, and it would later appear on his McCartney album in 1970. I remember listening to this. You listen to it, it's a beautiful song. You think, sounds like it could have been on the White Album. Well, it could have been because it was recorded then. I've always liked it. It's a nice tune. Child of Nature, or I'm Just a Child of Nature, is a John Lennon song. This would later, the lyrics would be changed to Jealous Guy. It would later turn into that song from John Lennon's Imagine album in '71. But the music part is here. Now this is an acoustic guitar, not the piano that it turned into later. It's a beautiful song. It's a nice little song. I'm just a child of nature, one of nature's children. On the road to Rishikesh, he's talking at the beginning of the line. So, there's definitely, he's talking about India here. And from what I've read about it, he and Paul attended a lecture while they were in India to the Maharishi. And the Maharishi was talking about these themes. Well, both John and Paul wrote songs about it. Paul's was Mother Nature's Son. And that's an excellent tune. So I think maybe they might have been too similar, I don't know. But anyway, this was left off. Next song is called Circles. This is a George Harrison song Eastern spiritualism, unusual lyrics. It's a little over 2 minutes. It's very dreary sounding. You have an organ sound on it, and I like the song. I could not imagine it appearing on a Beatles album. It would later appear on one of George's solo albums 14 years later on Gone Troupo. But it is good, and I'm glad that it's seeing official release here now, because had not heard it officially until today, until this weekend when it came out. I've heard it on bootlegs though before. All right, well, the next songs, the pair, are from Abbey Road, and they're part of side B, the long, shorter songs that make up that side, which they did a great job on. Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam. These would appear on Anthology 3, and I mean, we had no idea that John had demoed these songs as early as the White Album. Just really fun songs. It's just nice. It's hard to believe that he had them that long. They're good tunes though. Not Guilty is George Harrison's song. This was a song that I think he points a little bit in a negative way to the other Beatles. He's talking about not meaning to rock the apple cart. I don't know everything, I don't want to go into exactly the full meaning. Maybe only George knows that. But when they did officially record this for the White Album at EMI, Abbey Road, they had 102 takes. Longer than any number of takes that any of the other Beatles songs ever had up to. A lot. And I believe Eric Clapton might have been on the studio version. Well, anyway, this is a nice demo of that, and for whatever reason, it was cut from the White Album. I don't know, I think also lack of space. The other thing, if you look, it was a double album, and George has 4 songs on there. It's almost like one per side, so that's what they were giving him. And the last song is called What's the New Mary Jane? This would be an unreleased Beatles song until Anthology in the mid-90s. This is a song, rumor has it, that might have been about Jane Asher, possibly, poking fun at her. I don't know. She was an actress that was Paul McCartney's girlfriend for most of his time as the Beatles. They were engaged, and that didn't last, and then he met Linda, and he married Linda McCartney, Linda Eastman. What's the New Mary Jane? It's just a silly song. It's fun. He says, Mary Jane had a pain at the party, he keeps going on like that. It's a fun song, and he says Yeti, he likes to make groovy spaghetti. It's entertaining, it's not sensational, it's just a fun little song, and I would definitely encourage you, to check this out also for that. This was supposed to be at one point a single, with You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, the Beatles song, in late '69. It was supposed to be a Plastic Ono song, John Lennon, but they cut it, maybe because the other one really was a Beatles song, because they had participated on it. So anyway, that's it. I would highly recommend that you pick this up. I think this is just a great album, great collection. The remix is also good of the White Album, and now that you know a little bit more about the demos, I would encourage you to pick this up. So thank you very much for watching my video, and you have a nice day. Take care. Bye.